Alrighty guys, appreciate you watching us so far. We're going to be doing a little time lapse here, and we'd instead of throwing some fancy music on there, that we'd actually talk about the game a little bit. I'm joined with Captain Mike, and we've got a few key points here that we'd like to talk about. We're also going to talk a little bit about some of the updates that we've recently got since the recording of that video. Mike, would you like to start it off with something?
I mean, well, people know what I'm like. I'm a bit of a vanity horse, so the first thing we could come up with is, don't know if you've seen us use it yet in this episode, but the texture gun. We both love it to bits.
Oh, yes.
But it's just lacking in textures, in my opinion.
Yeah,
There's so much.
I would like to see some more textures for the texture gun. I don't think I've done much on this episode of it. I think all the textures we've done is actually on our offline building up of the Cordova. For anybody that is watching this series, we started building the big ship on survival, and building in survival in this game is kind of a royal pain in the ass. So we started started a creative world so we could build ships and then use the blueprint thing. It's kind of cheaty, and we will still build ships in survival, like
the main ship. It's too much.
Yeah, the hover tank was built in survival, which I don't think you've seen the hover tank yet. That'll be in the coming episode. And there's just some things there that just a big ship like that, it was going to look like crap, and I built one in started building one in creative just to kind of get a feel for it, and I really like how it's coming along. It's not a great ship. It kind of reminds me of a ship that I built in Space Engineers that none of you have seen, that is simplistically named the Riddle. And it's named that because it's the ship that shall not be named. We cannot think of a proper name for it. Anyway, the texture gun is absolutely amazing. I would like to see more textures, as in the industrial side, and possibly even some more fancy, like tiles and things.
All in all, it's a great tool.
Yeah, there's a few things. I mean, I don't know how they would honestly accomplish it, because they're basically texturing the whole side of one block. But I would like to be able to take and put like full-on sentences or something like that on a one block, especially when it comes to the large ship blocks, just because...
Yeah, some sort of like sign gun or something.
Yeah, some sort of sign gun or something like that, or even like Minecraft signs would be nice. Just something that we could put up there to label, say, like, this is engineering, or this is crew quarters, or something like that. Which, again, in Space Engineers, we have a mod that does that quite well, but yeah, they have such potential to be able to do such amazing things with this. I think one of the more technical side things that I would like to bring up, which I don't know if they fixed in the latest update of 1.7.1, I didn't see anything in the changelog about it, is the disappearing holes on the multiplayer servers.
Yeah, that's always fun.
And if you don't know exactly what that is, like holes that we have mined or anything like that we have done with the drill or anything like that, just randomly covers itself back up, yet the hole is still there for the other people on the server.
Yeah, we've both had this. I mean, I fell down one, and where the fuck he gone? Or he's still on one, and
I'm still standing on top of the thing, and he's trying to figure out how I'm just floating there. It's a minor issue because you can just restart the game and it's fixed.
And it fixes it.
Yeah, it's just, it could potentially cause problems if you're not paying attention to where you land, or if the vein disappears on you because you've mined it all out and then it covers itself back up like that, and you land a small ship there, and then when you log back in, well, the ship's down the bottom of it. That could be very, very...
Not just that as well. Logistics-wise, like, obviously I use my drone quite a lot in this episode to help you pick up supplies from the mines. We found near the end of episode 2, I believe it is, when we was doing some mining. I was trying to use my drone, but the hole had covered up, so I could only go so far.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get any of the ore here.
I mean, it's a minor issue, but it would be something that it definitely needs to be worked on, and I'm not sure exactly what's causing it. Mike, I'll let you pick the next one.
In hell, we've covered that, so suppose I mean, well, the flying is definitely something that needs to be looked at. I mean, the mechanic is great, but it could do with some work.
The flying. My biggest complaint with the flying is the over rotation that happens with
Mm.
the RCS and things like that. Um, it just seems
Gamma Ray
like
can
it
turn it
takes a
off,
lot. It
but
takes a lot to get it going, and then once it gets going, it doesn't stop. Which I guess is kind of realistic for something that's flying like that and not using control surfaces. But I'd like it to be a little bit more dialed in, because well, I don't know if it's in
mm-hmm.
this episode or not, but the ship that we were building when we were building the hover tanks, which I think is in the next episode, it ends up being upside down because of
Yeah, I
the over
mean, I found a
rotation.
way to correct that, but
Uh,
yeah,
the biggest, I don't have a whole lot of bad to say about the flying because it does work. It's just not, it's not beautiful. I
it
guess
could be
is.
fine-tuned, but for something that's only in alpha, it's not bad. Not bad at
Yeah,
all.
don't get any of this that we're saying wrong. We're not bitching about the game. We're not complaining or anything like that. This is
Yeah,
just
we
some.
love the game.
This is just some things that we're, saying that we would like to see changes or some things that could use a little bit of polishing. We both have played Space Engineers, and the biggest reason we don't have Space Engineers on our channels at the point in time is that everybody under the sun is
It's playing
doing
Space
Space
Engineers.
Engineers. I mean, you've got Wasted, you've got Morphologists, you've
Lost.
got Lost, you've got all kinds of different people. You've got Last Stand Gamer, Sage, all these other people and things like that.
Dragon.
Scott Dragon, yeah. All these people are doing these, well, on Space Engineers, and really there's not that much covering, at least not that I've seen, covering
Yeah,
Empyrion. And now that it's got its
don't
updates
get
and
me
actually
wrong.
playable.
We love Space Engineers. We absolutely love it. It's one of our first games we actually got on together.
I think it
But
was the game that brought me and you
Empyrean.
together.
Well,
As
yeah, I
weird
mean,
as
you
that
needed a
sounds.
space dock, I needed something to model it. So,
Yeah.
but
I'll try to
we
remember
thought,
to cut in some photos of the riddle. Just me and
yeah.
another one of the crew worked on this for 4 or 5 weeks straight, and it's still a work in progress. But we're both very very proud of that ship.
Uh,
Uh, hover vehicles.
well,
The theory behind hover vehicles is amazing. I mean, it would be absolutely amazing to be able to take and build up a proper hover tank or something along those lines and go on. But right now, for usability, now I've got some testing I'm going to do in a later time to see if there's a way to work it around it. But right now, like if you build a proper heavy armor or what's it called, heavy steel, I think blocks, the tanks are so heavy that you have to put nearly the entire bottom of them as hover engines, which I don't have a problem doing that. But then your problem comes when you're going over uneven terrain or, excuse me, something like that, that
you turn it
it
to an escalator.
basically starts plowing into the ground, flips upside down, and right
Then
now
it's either
hover.
a bitch to get over, or I'm sure a lot of people know about the hold shift and it'll flip your thing, but
Yeah.
unfortunately with most of ours they're too heavy for the engines even when the full bottom's covered to do that.
Yeah, so hover vehicles need some fine tuning because I would absolutely love to be able to use those. I mean, it would be epic as hell to fly in a drop ship and literally throw those things out the back of your ship, and there you be. S I really don't. The biggest thing is that maybe they need to add more power to the hover engines. If your vehicle weighs more
Mm.
than, if you're flying something more than say like a three-wide flying cockpit with an engine on it, you can't really climb the mountains that well. Just because the nose is into it, or whatever. So something needs to change there. Like I said, I've got some testing I want to do on that to see if there's a way I can work around it. I've got an idea on that,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have high hopes for it.
No.
So I really would like to see more done with the hover vehicles because that could be such a useful
Oh, yeah.
resource, and it's a lot
A
cheaper
lovely
to
concept.
run those than it is the small ship flying ones because they do use a lot of fuel.
Yeah, these
Which
are
by the end of this
fuel, but
episode,
you
we
know,
have enough fuel to keep us running for a while. And by the
I thought it
start
was
of
episode
the
2.
second episode, I've got nearly 1,000 I think I do have 1,000 large promethium tanks, almost 1,000 small ones. I mined a lot of promethium and a lot of magnesium.
Wee, bitch,
Um,
wee.
and then
No,
Mike
he
got
did a
on
lot
there
of
and did a
off
lot
camera.
of the cobalt and iron and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it was off time. It was all off camera stuff. But completely legit. I promise.
Yeah, I can confirm it was legit. I mean, we ain't gonna bullshit you on this one.
Well, to be honest, the only way that I've seen people being able to get kind of cheat in, because there's no really codes to spawn stuff, at least that I've found, is to actually create a duplicate world and copy and paste the players around. And the problem with that is you
You still got
chance
to do all the work.
corrupting your entire world by doing that.
Mm.
Um, Mike, your turn, I
Yes,
guess.
sir. Let's see what we've covered. We've covered the disappearing hulls, the flying. We've covered the textures, covered the hover vehicles. I think we need to come down to what actually keeps us alive in Empyrion. The food. We need to come down to the food. I mean, it is
Yeah,
good, but it could do with some work.
I would actually like to see more options in the way of food.
Not gonna lie, there's a good few there, but
Yeah, well, right now the only sustainable food that you can get that doesn't expire is the MRE wannabes, the
oh,
survival rations or whatever they're called.
yeah, come on, they're Maoris and we all know it.
Yeah, pretty much they're MREs. Uh, the only problem that I have with that is the fiber that is required to manufacture those you cannot grow,
Mhm.
and the meat that is required for those. Now we do have, with the advent of alpha, we do have dinosaurs, trikes and raptors to use for meat and things like that, and a lot of the enemies inside the bases drop meat. But if you're not careful, that meat spoils before you can get it back to your processing.
Yeah, which is why
Um,
pretty much everything that we have has a fridge on it.
Yeah, which again, that's kind of comes down to the survival aspect. So I'm not griping about that. I would like to see the ability to maybe grow the fiber because there's a few options in there, and fiber is not that forthcoming on the planet's surface, at least not on Kura. I think is how you pronounce it.
I think Akua. I'm not sure, man.
Akua, something like that. Anyway, there's no actual way of producing fiber. You have to go out and harvest it and find it and things like that. And so far, everything other than corn dogs you can grow. Um,
I would like to be able to grow them. That'd be nice.
I mean, it's not really like it would be game breaking because in order to grow enough of those that you would to survive off of, you would have to have probably
A field.
a 9x9 at minimum for one person to be able to survive off them because they only give you like I think it's 5 or 10 food. And so it's not really economical to survive off those. I mean, you're more better off to grow the tomatoes,
Uh,
pumpkins, and durian to make the canned vegetables. Um, so some more types of food, something that we can grow, or possibly some sort of food replicator
meat
that
supplement.
requires, a massive amount of power. Just because we do have access to like hydrogen, we can manufacture hydrogen, which the ship that we're designing,
Basic only amount of
when it's
power.
on a planet that has water, it's going to be running off of hydrogen.
Yeah.
Um, so and that's kind of the idea behind it. So I mean, you do have kind of a renewable source of energy there, to an extent. Now, if you run out of promethium, you can't make hydrogen, but again, you get more for your bang for your buck, I guess. Um, Next
I
on
mean,
the
some sort of
docket,
meat supplement.
yeah, some sort of meat supplement. Something that we
I
could
mean,
use to
obviously,
make like the actual ham and things like that for the MREs would be
see,
nice.
we couldn't have it give you the same stuff as meat, but
Well, I mean,
maybe half.
there's a way to work it around or something like that. Just something so we can make a food source that is not going to perish. So when you're on these long space hikes or something like that in your small ship and you can't
Mm,
manufacture food, and for maybe a refrigerator is not an option or something like that, or your refrigerator gets blown off your ship and you've only got what's in your inventory, something that's not going to expire. And it's a little easier to come by would be kind of nice, and I say easier loosely, just because you do have to have something to make the game challenging.
well,
Um, the building mechanics.
mm,
Um, there's a lot of
does it
things I
really
like about
fool
the
with them
building
much?
mechanics. I like how you basically have the one block for your building, and you can right click to change it to whatever shape you want.
Which we were very pissy about at first because we couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, entire first episode or first two episodes, we spent forever trying to figure that out, and finally I broke down and Googled it. But yeah, I do like that actual part of the building mechanic. I like the amount of blocks that they give you for building. There's probably a few that they could add in
Yeah.
to help with that, but they do give you a significant amount, which is nice. Uh, Overall, the rotation mechanic is aggravating.
After years of Space Engineers, it is a little aggravating. Could do with
Yeah.
some work,
Well, I
but
mean, the way this the rotation mechanic works, if you've not seen it, you hit delete or insert to change the plane that you're rotating on, and then you use home or end on your keyboard to actually rotate it around. And I would kind of like to see that change to where, home and end, rotate it one plane, insert, delete, rotate another plane, and page up and down, and that would be. Yes, it's basically quoting Space Engineers there, but Space Engineers does work. So I would like to see something along those lines, a change in the building mechanic, just to kind of balance that out a little bit better, make it a little easier. Overall, though, I do not have a whole lot to complain about in the building.
no. All in
Yeah,
all, the building mechanic is fun.
yeah, I mean it works. The symmetry planes work really nicely. The one gripe that I do have about building is when you're in creative or something like that, we need to have another gun, like a
An
creative
instant delete
deconstructor
tool.
that deletes it. And I'd actually really be appreciative of it if it would actually delete, if you're using symmetry, the same block on the other side. Just
Yeah,
because a
that'd be
lot of times
nice.
I'll forget that I'm actually building in symmetry and go to place a block and then have to go redo the entire other side because I've missed deleting a block. But yeah, that's really all I've got to say on the build mechanics.
Pretty much all there is to say.
We've done everything on that, which I need to wrap this up. This episode is going to run a little over, guys. I'm sorry about that, but hopefully you like this little format of the updates. Uh, During the process of recording episode 1, which is this episode, and episode 2, and
Two.
possibly 3, I'm not sure yet, we got update 1.62. Which it did a lot of optimization on the player vessels and things like that. So basically, if you had a lot of vessels in the playfield, it wasn't cause FPS drops, which is really nice. They changed some of the ships around in the blueprints. The
Yes,
former,
thanks to Mr. Ice Cat, we now have a new tier 2, which looks absolutely beautiful. The old tier 2 is now being buffed to a tier 3, which I think is very, very coming of it.
yeah,
It definitely suits it.
the ships and things like that in the blueprint menu, the prefabs and stuff like that, we've kind of decided that we will only use those if we absolutely have to, that we kind of want to make sure that everything we use is something that we have built. Even if we're blueprinting
Yes.
them in, we're going to try to make sure that we have built it in the past.
Oh yeah, and if we're using a blueprint, we will, if we remember to, we will most likely, workshop it and put a link.
Yeah.
So if you want to scrutinize it, have a look, feel free.
Yeah, and mind you, we're not professional builders. It is taking a lot of time to get where we're at, and all of my builds kind of end up being, in general, a lot of the same. But I'm learning. They changed the model for the survival constructor in the process of this update. So this video that you're watching today hasn't got that update yet. That will be in episode 2. It's from far as I can see, the model updates are mostly aesthetics or minor updates just to change it around. They fixed some problems and things like that with the sound loops that we were experiencing in episode 2.
Yeah, I haven't heard any more of that, so that's nice.
They fixed some issues with the third person. Update 162 really wasn't a big update.
It wasn't
but
a big one, but it was appreciated.
It did a lot of nice things. Update 1.70 or 1.7.0. They added in some wonderful blocks, and I will let Mike scrutinize those a little bit.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Well, pretty much first thing on the list. I'm actually reading off the Steam Workshop off the Steam News at the minute. The first thing that's added in is the new combat blocks, new combat steel blocks for the bases and capital vessels. Obviously, I'm sure if anyone who's read it will know that handheld weapons can't, like,
Yeah, you're breaking up, Mike.
at all apart from motherfucker.
We're having some issue with TeamSpeak for whatever reason, causing this to happen. What is 15%? Well, Mike is going to be out of commission for just a minute. What he was basically saying, the combat steel blocks were added in for bases and capital vessels. If you've not read the update log, it's basically changing like the mechanics on it. You cannot use handheld weapons to destroy them anymore, except for rocket launchers, obviously. Mike, as soon as your ping drops down, let me know and I'll let you take back over. They've added in something that I was really glad to see, especially with the ship that we're currently building for the series, armored windows. These cannot be are destroyed with handheld weapons. Again, rocket launchers should be able to. The only gripe that I have about the armored windows is we need to have the full option arrays of the shapes, slants, and stuff like that, and not just the 2 or 3 that we've got. But
Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to pipe up on the thing with the ships. They have said they are working on more ships, so that's
Okay, well, I figured it was still kind of a work in progress thing, and it's just this is the first iteration of it, so that's not too bad. Have you looked at the armored doors yet, Mike?
I have not. I meant to last night, but obviously I had that problem with Empyrion.
Yeah, minor issue there. We're working on getting that sorted out with the devs. The armored doors, I didn't look at them real hard. The model seems to be very similar, if not identical, to the standard doors. But these doors cannot be destroyed with handheld weapons. This poses a potential issue, especially if they update a lot of the spawn bases of getting into them. So I'm a little worried about that. I don't see them doing that because that's kind of like a big resource for us. We got a tier 2 repair tool, and
I'm looking forward to that.
they've nerfed the tier 1 repair tool.
Yeah.
So not necessarily overly thrilled about that, but it should be all right.
They have messed about the graphics a little in this update. They've added new screen effects, bloom, image processing, SSAO can now be disabled and enabled in settings. You can now edit your video options more discreetly and individually, rather than before it was pretty much just medium, high, extreme kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that they're finally getting some more
that.
options in there, which does help out for people with lower end cards. And I don't know if anybody's seen my specs, but I'm running a 280, an R9 280, and I will be updating probably to the new RX as soon as I get the $230 for it.
Oh, nice. Don't mind.
The other thing they did, they added in PBR shaders for building blocks and terrain. Basically just making the game look a little bit better and also perform a lot better. They updated some models. They updated the ammo box models. They updated the oxygen generator or hydrogen generator models, gravity generators.
Yeah, it looks like they're just, from what I've seen, it looks like they're just higher poly count models, but I haven't scrutinized them yet, so I wouldn't know.
And power generators. When I had looked over them before, basically the models were very bland, and now like the gravity generator has lighting on it. It also has stickers. I think it was more textures than model per se, but that does look really nice. So we are very appreciative of that. Now,
yes.
Update 1.7.1, the update we got this afternoon. And yes, I'm sorry. I know these episodes are delayed, but my truck.
We've been having issues.
My truck broke. The lower control arm literally broke on my truck, and I've been scrambling around for the last 3 days trying to find parts to fix that because I don't have the $270 to buy a new part for it at the auto parts place. So I've been scrambling around trying to find that, but all's well with that. I'll get a little update on that later on.
Oh,
And Mike's been having issues with the update
everything.
1.70. It caused unplayable, made it unplayable with his current graphics card.
It
But
quite
we
literally it made it so my main screen looked like I'd punched it straight in the middle.
took a
So as
baseball
soon as
bat
I
to it.
yeah, that's what it looked like. It looked like I'd been playing with the Wii. Let's put it that way.
So minor issue there. We have been in contact with the devs. They've been very helpful with that, and they are trying to figure out a fix for that. And hopefully that was part of 1.71. The biggest thing with 1.71, they've added in a new command. Now, big disclaimer here, and I mean a massive disclaimer.
We have
Do
not
not
tried
use
this
this
yet.
command on a server. I repeat, do not use this command on a server. Only use it in a single player. Basically, what this command does, with the advent of the adding of the combat steel blocks and things like that, they've added in a beta command or a command or testing, which basically allows you to replace the blocks of your current blueprint ship with that of another. And you can check out the actual log on their Steam page under news, and it actually tells you how to use it and things like that. They've also temporarily disabled the bloom effect due to some performance problems that were causing FPS drops. I didn't see any, but it takes a lot for my computer to see issues.
Yeah, fuck it.
Um, bug fixes. They fixed handling and quality presets. Now they should save correctly. I'm not exactly sure what the hell that means. HV can be glued to the ground when landed,
Of a
and
vehicle.
yeah, cannot be moved anymore. That is something I'm kind of glad to see because we had that one issue with our um, hover vehicle when we
Of the
were mining
tank,
that
I
the
think.
damn thing just almost drifted into a hole. It was the pre-tank. And emergency O2 generators are not working in old multiplayer saves. They did apparently fix that. There was a glitch with that they fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we have run a lot over. I'm going to probably compress this down to
A
the
bullet
video
point.
down to this just being us, because the first episode was kind of rambly anyway. So I'll probably just put this on as the first episode. I am kind of sorry of that. But this has just been kind of an update thing. We are working on getting episodes out on our channels with everything going on. We've just been having some issues there, so please bear with us on that. The last episode of
Mm-hmm.
Dark Souls from the streams should be up on my channels. Um, Arma, we're planning on doing a stream of Arma on the 13th, I believe it is.
Yeah, that's
Um,
hopefully when they release the date for Apex. If
Uh,
not release
they're
Apex.
they're gonna said on a Twitter post that they were going to be releasing the official date of Apex on Compex this year, which is on the 13th. So I'm hoping they do some sort of live stream, and we'll be streaming
If they do,
that,
we'll do another video.
and we'll be commentarying on that and things like that a little bit. And if they do like they did with Eden and release it, which mind you, I know that Tano's already available on the dev branch, but with
We're
DNAs or
not pissing about with that.
D&Ds and
We'll
things
get too
like that,
attached.
I don't want to play something that is still kind of work in progress. I don't want to put it out there until it's ready. I know that they're still
Mm-hmm.
doing performance fixes and things like that, but I can't wait for it. Check out RHS, Red Hammer Studios. They've got some beautiful pictures up already where they've been playing around in it and getting their updates ready for Apex. Anyway, I've been MichaelJMAD,
I'm Captain Mike.
and we are JMAD Gaming. We'll see y'all next time, and I will be releasing this episode and probably episode 2 within an hour or so of this one, just to kind of get some content out there for you. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I am sorry this episode has run over a little bit.